Hi there. So my name's Misha and I'm with Natural Medicine Mamas, and I am recording the video today about kind of the whys behind herbs. I'm not really good at this whole video camera thing, so sorry if I guess I should look at the camera. That's probably better for the video instead of looking down. So I will try to do that and not get distracted. So I'm in my house, and behind me is all my stuff, a few things my kids do, and yeah, so anyway, um, why herbs? So there's kind of a long story behind it, and Clay's blog post does explain that to a certain extent. I did want to add just a couple of other of my thoughts. So to be able to do that, I do feel it's important that you understand a little bit of my background. So I am a registered nurse, and I have been a registered nurse for 21 years now, which is really strange to say because I don't feel like I'm old enough to have been a nurse that long. I did get into nursing school right out of high school, and I did graduate very young. So that's part of the reason. But anyway, so I've spent a lot of time, and most of that has been what you would call acute care, and that means in the hospital. I did do a little bit of outpatient work, and I also was the mission nurse. I served a medical mission for my church, and in Bolivia in South America, and I was the nurse for the missionaries there as well as for some of the members of our church. So I was responsible for allocating funds for them if they had medical needs, things like that. And then, so my clinical experience is also, again, mostly hospital. I've worked mostly cardiology. I have 12 years of cardiology experience. I have 4 years of neurology experience in a level 1 trauma facility. And I also have a year of trauma experience at another level 1 trauma facility I've worked in Idaho, Utah, and Florida. I also spent a year as an outpatient nurse. I did get burnt out after working neurology. Working neuro was really challenging, so I did have to take a break from the hospital after I did that. And I worked as a study nurse, so I got some perspective on what is involved in getting drugs approved for the market to become FDA approved. Most recently, I am now working as an educator. I work in the education department of the hospital here locally, and I teach all kinds of classes. I teach advanced life support and a rhythm class that teaches nurses about how to interpret heart rhythms. I run our sim mannequin. So we have a realistic mannequin that has vital signs and blood pressure and heart rate and heart sounds and lung sounds, and it can talk and do all these things. And I run that mannequin for the simulations that we have, the practices that we do to keep nurses up to date on protocols. I do help with our residency program. I help with orientation classes. I'm not a full-time educator. I spend most of my time at home with my 3 boys. So that's my experience. Anyway, I include that just so that you know that I hope that I have a balanced perspective on what we call allopathic medicine or Western medicine, and as well as alternative methods of medicine. So Kalei talks about kind of more of our family's background in herbs, and so you can read the blog post for that. For me personally, the reason I feel herbs are important is kind of multifaceted. There are more and more studies coming out about how herbs are helpful and what they actually do. There's studies about, many studies actually now with essential oils that are really quite fascinating. They work better many times than antibiotics for diseases, bacteria that are antibiotic resistant. So bugs like MRSA and VRE and C. diff and some of those other really scary antibiotic resistant illnesses they're finding can be treated with some essential oils as well as some herbs. Most of those studies are not done in the United States. I'm sure because to be able to do those studies, you need to have funding, and it can be difficult to get that kind of funding for something that's not going to make you money or be able to be FDA approved. So most of those studies are either out of the UK or Europe or Australia. But there are many, many studies that are showing how effective herbs are. But in addition to that, some of why I feel that herbs are important is based on my religious and beliefs, as well as added into that my experience taking care of people. So I'm going to start with my experience taking care of people. And like I said, most of my experiences in the hospital, and I've taken care of many, many people. I could probably say at this point in the close to the tens of thousands, if not in that range, because I spent 10 years working full-time, and I've spent more than 10 years and another 10 years working part-time. So I've taken care of a lot of different kinds of people, many of them very, very ill. And I have found myself many times as I've taken care of those people wondering if we're really doing the right thing, if we're really treating them the right way. And I say that not because our medicine is not good. We have the best medicine in the world here in the United States, and I can say that with confidence, having worked in South America with the medical system and having traveled to Europe. So when I say that I feel like we could do things better, it has more to do with how we manage our health chronically or long-term. In an acute setting, or what I would call like an emergent or immediate setting, our medicine is the best. And so what I mean by that is if I were in a car accident, or if I suddenly had pancreatitis, or if I found myself with a really, really bad asthma exacerbation, or a super high fever, or something like that was really a big emergency, somebody who was presenting with on the first onset of type 1 diabetes would be another example. I would not hesitate taking myself or somebody that I love to the hospital, having them get that care. We have the best plastic surgeons in the world, the best trauma surgeons, like I mentioned before, for car accidents, the best trauma surgeons, the best neurosurgeons. They do great work, really good jobs of taking care of those very devastating injuries, as well as in those really acute medical situations like pancreatitis or a really bad asthma exacerbation, or a really bad lung disease exacerbation or something like that. So I'm referring more to how we manage illness as a long-term thing. And what I mean by that is what could we be doing better to prevent some of these illnesses? And a lot of that has to do with preventative health care. And then that goes back to our diets. And we have felt that herbs are a really, really good way to be able to supplement your diet with other food options that give you a more well-rounded nutritional profile to what you eat. So, an example of that would be, when I think of spices in my food, there's probably, in general, as Americans, we would talk about probably about 10 spices. So salt and pepper and maybe some basil and oregano and maybe garlic and onions, and some people really like marjoram or thyme, maybe or like an Italian spice, some lemon pepper for meat, things like that. Kind of really what you might call basic spices. And if you go to other places in the world, in particular India, Thailand is another example. They have this huge menagerie of spice choices. It's really kind of exciting. So they have cardamom and turmeric, and they use cinnamon profusely, and other spices that are really shown to have really good health benefits. Not that basil and oregano don't, because they actually do. They have great health benefits as well. I think the key is that by adding herbs and thinking of them more as food rather than as supplements or things like that, that it helps increase our ability to give our bodies really good nutrition. So for like myself personally, I try to drink an herbal tea every day, sometimes twice a day. And I do that more often in the winter or cool months than I do in the summer. Usually, many times I'll actually chill my tea to have it so that it's cooler. And part of the reason that I do this is because I'm actually not really able to eat the way I'd really like to. I have young children, my husband travels a lot, and I work. So it makes it difficult for me to eat like I would really want to. So I help supplement that with my herbal tea. And I choose herbs that I can take daily. So I don't drink, for example, what would be a good example? Echinacea. I don't use echinacea every day. I use it if I'm starting to not feel well. But I do use nettle and red raspberry and oat straw and red clover and some herbs like that in my daily tea. Those herbs have a lot of vitamins and some of the minerals in them to help supplement what I eat. Now, the other reason that myself personally I feel that herbs are a great choice to use is because of how I feel about my religious beliefs, I guess. So here at Natural Medicine Mamas, we are Christians, and we are very happy to say that. We support and respect any other religious beliefs, so I feel like this applies to anyone who believes in a deity. So regardless of who that deity is, that deity, that God, loves us, and he made us this amazing, beautiful earth. And sometimes when I talk about it, it makes me cry a little bit because I feel God's love for me deeply and very passionately. And I feel like he gave us this amazing planet, this amazing, beautiful earth to live on. And it doesn't make any sense to me that he would create all these amazing plants and environments that aren't useful for us. And so the herbs and plants around us are useful to us and helpful to us, and they can help us live better and happier, healthier lives. So that is my summary of why herbs are a good choice to add to your routine. And we'll talk more about other things in other videos and blog posts. I would like to add that it's really important to consider that herbs are like food. And Hippocrates, and you'll see other people quote him, said, I honestly don't remember the exact order, but he said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. So what that means to me is that I need to be eating in such a way that I can nourish and strengthen my body on a daily basis, and that then becomes good preventative medical care. So if you have any questions, we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to try to answer your questions for you and hope that our videos and blog posts are helpful to you. So have a nice evening, and thanks for watching.